Good afternoon, everyone. I am Shilpan, Amin. I'm our Global Vice President for Purchasing, Supply Chain, and Logistics at General Motors. Very excited to join today. As you know, GM has a very important supply chain in this country, which consists of more than 500 suppliers established in Mexico and generating more than 150,000 jobs. So these relationships are very important to us, and I'm happy to be here with this audience and the Mexico supply base. So I wanted to start out today by going through a brief overview of where General Motors' vision is, and really a lot of the progress we made over the last several months toward that vision, alongside with many of you, our supplier partners. In fact, you'll see the theme of increased partnerships to help deliver on our future. And without these partnerships and strong relationships, we really wouldn't have been able to successfully navigate the challenges of the last couple of years. And so let me first talk about the last couple of years. It's hard to talk about where we want to go in the future without understanding what we faced. And to say the last year and a half has been challenging is truly an understatement. As many of you have seen, we've weathered a historic number of supply chain crises, everything from natural disasters like volcanoes and floods and earthquakes to supply shortages and everything from foam and resin and semiconductors. And I'd say beyond that, there's another part of crisis that we're all facing. The pandemic has really taken a toll on all of us personally, whether it's our mental health, well-being, whether it's how our relationships grow with our friends, families, coworkers, our partners. And really, we've had to learn how to work in new ways and adjust our lives at home to fit families, schools, and jobs all under one roof, and disconnect from our network of friends and families to really slow the spread. I can tell you the last several months, they just haven't impacted our business. They've really impacted all of us as well. And, our people and our partners are the strongest assets we have in our company. And truly, any of one of these issues simultaneously could have thrown us off course at any point. Really, because of our partnerships, we worked together and we found new solutions and ways around hurdles that we've encountered. So I do want to thank you for your support you've provided and continue to provide. I can tell you, if we think back on 2 years ago, if we would have said, everyone had to stay home, we're going to continue to develop our future portfolio, we're actually going to transform and accelerate our transformation, and we're all going to do it while never seeing each other and never being in the office. Many of us, including myself, would have thought that was a hill too tall to climb. But together, we really found that we have this capability to do that. And that really is this thought about how do we think about our future? Where should we invest? How should we invest? How do we get the things that need to get done through these partnerships and learnings? And so what hasn't changed during all of this time is our vision. In fact, we've accelerated our vision. And we do remain committed to a world of zero crashes, zero emissions, and zero congestion. And really through this vision, we strive to reinvent mobility and really create a greener and safer world for all. What we realized through all the pandemics that we face and crises we faced in the past 2 years, being proactive in our approach to finding solutions is really critical, and strong collaborations will find creative innovations. What we know about climate change is we have to act now for the generations that follow. I have 2 young boys. I hope they grow up to have kids and families as well. And it's upon me and all of us to deliver so our future generations can have a better life than we have. What we also know is, this foundation around safety, and over 1 million lives are lost each year in vehicle crashes around the world, or human errors contribute to 94% of these crashes. And the sooner we can get safety technologies to help mitigate crashes, and really the autonomous mobility to market to help provide safer mobility, the more lives we can save. And so for those people to also enjoy the generations to come. One other reason for urgency is really around the environment. And just a couple months ago, the International Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, published its latest observations, and it confirmed what we were concerned about. And it was really produced with over 200 scientists in 65 countries. And the report declared a code red for humanity. A code red for humanity. And that's alarming. And the natural disasters caused by climate change are real, and they're disrupting thousands of lives in every region of the world. One of the positive news in the report was that human actions still have the potential to determine the future course of our climate. What we do starting today can drive a different outcome in climate change. And the evidence is clear that carbon dioxide is the main driver of climate change. What's further clear is transportation accounts for 1/3 of the greenhouse gas emissions, and the auto industry is 1/5 of that. And at GM, 77% of our carbon footprint comes from vehicles in use, which is why we're aiming all the way to an all-electric future. We're not going to step our way to solve climate change. We are committed to solve it with a different customer experience around an all-electric future. And this electrification of the global transportation will help reduce emissions. And today we believe that we're at an inflection point where the world's reliance on gas and diesel-powered vehicles will begin transitioning to transportation with zero emissions. We want to lead this transition, and we are going to move extremely fast. In fact, in June this year, we announced we're accelerating our engineering and capital investments in EVs and AVs from what was originally $20 billion a year ago. We upped it to $27 billion about 6 months ago. And now we've increased that to $35 billion through 2025 because we are committed to finding solutions. We are committed to addressing the world health, and we're committed to giving our customers the ability for everyone to get into an EV. We also recognize we must do work more than just on vehicle emissions to do our part to protect the planet, and we must focus on the entire enterprise. And so we have committed to be carbon neutral by 2040 in all of our global products and operations. And if we can, we're going to accelerate that. And in fact, talking about acceleration, we've recently announced the 5-year pull ahead of our commitment to source 100% renewable energy for the company's US facilities by 2025 and globally by 2035. In fact, we are supporting the infrastructure needed to drive higher availability of renewable energy so we could bring that not only to our facilities, but making it available to our suppliers. And in that same year, in 2035, we will eliminate tailpipe emissions in our light-duty vehicles. And what I would say is these are pretty bold commitments, and we have confidence to deliver on it, but we can't do it alone. And that's why I want to share with you this today. Really, to accomplish these targets, we have to focus on the supply chain. And we have to move much faster. I've actually heard a lot of supplier partners telling me about their commitment to carbon neutrality, and they talk about 2050. And I can imagine many of us here on the phone and virtually today may not be in our jobs in 2050. And so, I do believe while it's in our control and we are the decision makers, let's make the commitment and take accountability to solve this now. I need to think about 2030 and 2035 because we can make decisions that influence that now. And what we found throughout the pandemic is when we put our creative minds together and collaborate on solutions, those solutions will come. Just because we don't know the path to get there now isn't a reason not to commit. Speaking of these partnerships, when we think about delivering on this accelerated pace, and these are some things that we've done already that we didn't know how to accomplish when we made these commitments. We went out and sought solutions and partnerships to help deliver on these commitments, and we're finding them each and every day. And so I want to give you a couple of those examples that we have already announced with many companies this year. In January, we formed a strategic commercial collaboration with Controlled Thermal Resources to secure local and low-cost lithium. What was important on this is we saw the demand of lithium growing, and we understand how lithium is currently extracted and refined and produced, it's not in the most sustainable way. So when we made our commitment to our future, we wanted to invest in those that are committed to find sustainable extractions and keeping the world healthy. And we'll make our investments and our business commitments to those companies that find these solutions. And CTR is one of those companies. We also partnered with Solid Energy on the next generation Ultium battery chemistry. And really through this partnership, we're on the cusp of a once in a generation improvement in energy density and cost. This is important as we talk about bringing EVs to everybody, making it affordable, making it so it's not an inconvenience. In fact, it's the opposite. It's a customer experience that once you're in, you'll never want to leave. And when you deal with batteries, you also need to think about the recycling of the battery materials. So we formed a new partnership with Li-Cycle to recycle up to 100% of the material scrap from battery cell manufacturing. And we've also thought about the infrastructure and change in this customer experience. And part of this is, how do we increase access for our EV buyers? And the latest commitment and partnership is with Shell, which is now offering renewable energy solutions across all of our customers and our suppliers. So these are a couple of partnerships we formed this year alone. A lot of suppliers ask me how to get into General Motors. How do we grow with General Motors? How do we participate in the future? And it used to be around, focus on the core business, on quality, on competitiveness of cost, on building the relationships, and all of those matter. They still matter. They're important to set the foundation, but to differentiate yourself, think about innovative solutions to help accelerate our future. Think about sustainable operations and processes, both in sustainable materials and in your operations. We will put our money into the suppliers that find more accelerated solutions and processes. In fact, when we talked about some additional partnerships in steel, where a steel manufacturer, Nucor, found a more sustainable way to produce steel, we made a commitment to them and became their first customer. And then when we talk about finding world health solutions beyond the automobile, we've also recently formed new partnerships that are focused on other forms of transportation. One was WebTech. We've joined forces with them to develop advanced Ultium battery and Hydrotech hydrogen fuel cell systems for the future of freight locomotives. Liebherr and GM are collaborating on Hydrotech hydrogen fuel cells for systems of tomorrow's aircrafts. And Lockheed Martin and GM are teaming up to develop the next-gen lunar rover for NASA astronauts to explore the moon and beyond. And so there's a lot of avenues being worked on for mobility. We're also working on cleaner forms of transportation for the world's waterways. So whether by land, sea, or air, we will find solutions to help contribute to world health. In addition, we had a very exciting investor day last month. And so, when we talk about how do you participate with General Motors and think about your growth as a company and where your R&D investments are made, we want to highlight to you our transition from an automaker to a platform innovator. And this will drive significant growth. And we need a lot of support in driving the technology and innovation in these platforms. And, this is really how GM is going to transform from the automaker to the platform, really around driving the best vehicles we've ever delivered. Our vehicle and portfolio today is some of the most beautiful designed and executed vehicles that we've ever done. And as we develop the hardware and software platforms that redefine the customer's expectations on top of these platforms, that's when you can help lead. And then we'll extend our leadership in automated driver assistance from level 2 to level 5. And, for any of you that have had the opportunity to experience Super Cruise, which is truly the safest first fully driver assisted vehicle on the highway, it's a game changer. And I drive my 2 sons around to soccer all the time, and we drive 3 or 4 hours to their games. It's made a significant difference when I can turn on Super Cruise, take out the anxiety, and reconnect with those around me in the vehicle. And we made our announcement of the next generation of that with Ultra Cruise, which is truly point-to-point destination. It's not limited to highways. It covers 95% of any user's experience from putting in your destination from your driveway and allowing the vehicle to take us there. And then with Cruise, our partnership in San Francisco, we're redefining the commercialization strategies of the first fully autonomous driverless vehicle. And we've seen a lot of the developments in there. You can go to YouTube and look at some of these vehicles driving around the streets in San Francisco without drivers in it, and some of the things that they face and the decisions the vehicle has to make and how they provide mobility safer for those that are in it. And then finally, we're launching new businesses that will bring new customers and new revenues to GM. These are great from a business development. One of the things I'm also proud of from our company is our commitment around ESG and remaining at the core of our business as we move toward our future around zero crashes, zero emissions, and zero congestion. And beyond that, we can only deliver this if we create an environment which appreciates and engages all perspectives from all experiences around the world. And this is the core around our social justice and inclusion vision. And we are driving deliberately and meaningful change to be the most inclusive company in the world. When we talk about inclusion and we share that vision, it's with our supplier partners. We collectively want to be the most inclusive companies in the world. And what will lead to positive change and implement inclusion solutions is what will help drive us to our all-electric and autonomous future. So we look forward to all the business partners and suppliers to help move humanity forward in the most inclusive way. So I want to get back to, how do we accomplish this? And I've said it again and again, we can't do any of this alone. It really will take all of us working together to aim for the same goals and make transformation, the transformation of mobility really beneficiary for all. So let me bring it back closer to home and all the work that we're doing in Mexico and how it ties into our vision and partnerships. As I mentioned in the beginning, that GM has a very important supply chain here in Mexico, consisting of over 500 established suppliers and contributing to significant amount of jobs. In fact, over 150,000 jobs in Mexico. And in 2020, we closed as the #1 producer and exporter of vehicles in Mexico. And we bought over $17 billion of parts and components from our great Mexico supply base. This makes GM the major purchasing company in the automotive sector in Mexico. So a topic that often comes up is, how does this connect into our electrification strategy and portfolio in the future? And there is a path that we have advanced gradually with some firm steps. Some we've now recently just announced, and in fact, April this year, we announced the investment of more than $1 billion in our Ramos manufacturing complex. Part of this investment is aiming to prepare the site for expansion of the assembly and global propulsion system plants to make Ramos the 5th GM manufacturing facility in North America to produce electric vehicles. Ramos will be joined in Spring Hill, Tennessee, Factory Zero in Detroit, Michigan, Orion Assembly in Orion, Michigan, and CAMI in Ingersoll, Canada, as the facilities that will produce our all EV future. And for those that are around Ramos, you've already started seeing the construction activities of the new facilities. And inside the complex, where the electric vehicles for all of our GM brands will be produced starting during the 2023 calendar year. And batteries and electrical components will also be built at Ramos. And in September, we started the production of drive units from our Ramos facility. And when we talk about USMCA, we support the trade agreement and believe it's actually an important tool for ensuring the North American automotive market remains competitive and secure with a more resilient and capable supply base. And that competitiveness really comes from having a predictable trade agreement like USMCA, so you can make investments with the long term in mind and have confidence that the volumes and the production will be there to sustain these operations. We really need our supplier support with new technology and the tech hubs for the future of electric vehicles. really supported by USMCA, the new electrification vision. We're asking for your support to nearshore or ally shore all of these technologies, think deep into your value chain, create the capabilities, and invest in all of our future. And to reach our EV goals, we really have to rethink the way we design, manufacture vehicles to meet this evolving needs of our customers around the world. And we need our suppliers to continue to innovate as well, whether it's your manufacturing processes to be nimble and responsive, whether it's your consumer insights and benchmarking so we can make informed decisions to have the best products out there, or whether it's how you set up your manufacturing capabilities to give you that advantage in the market in a more sustained way. So we're very fortunate to have you as business partners and to be able to collaborate together in achieving our all EV future. So I'll leave you with this. We always come back to our global purchasing and supply chain priority wheel at General Motors. And for those of you that have joined our supplier business meetings, you're very familiar with this priority wheel. Really, everything we do aligns with our business goals and environmental commitments. And I touched on a little bit of these priorities today. Hopefully you can connect into these, but let me just quickly reflect on some of the big ones and where we're going. When we talked about nurturing relationships and be inclusive, and I'm very happy with the continued momentum and the largest growth in relationship building out of any OEMs that we've been able to accomplish in the past couple of years, and where we're going to continue to go in the future through these partnerships and inclusion to deliver on our future. We talk about sustainable value streams, and I'm very passionate around this one, that we have an obligation and we have the capability to have this industry really redefine and lead in a transformation around sustainability, not because it's regulatory, not because we're going to wait till someone tells us what to do. It's because we have the capabilities to do this now and start contributing to the solution. From a total enterprise approach and to cost and profitability, we really think about that total enterprise view of things, which really focuses on optimizing efficiencies, reducing waste, and not only set targets, but to deliver on those targets and figure out how to accelerate those. And I've given you some examples on targets we've made around sustainability and the drive to beat those targets and improve on those. Really, this foundation around safety, it's personal and own it. We are committed to the entire safety of our GM family, and our GM family extends to our employees, our customers, every person in our supply base, our dealers, and those communities in which we live and work. And for everyone, it's not just physical safety, it's also mental health and general well-being around safety. And so we have to focus on that for our team members, our families, and our friends, and make sure we reinforce that message. Really around launch excellence and defect-free vehicles, our customers have high expectations, and we will deliver to those expectations to have flawless vehicles and really launch on time with quality, and from the first customer to the last customer, having the greatest customer experience. And then finally, really this acceleration around innovation, and we need your innovation, we need your ingenuity, and we need to really think creativity around addressing the challenges in our horizon. So hopefully that gave you some insights, not only into the crisis we face today, but the decisions we're making today are the investments and the resources as we allocate that into the future. We think it's important to outline where we see the future going and ask you to participate with us in spending your precious resources and capital to come along the ride with us. So with that, I will hand it back, and looking forward to joining you with the Q&A.